Salutations, Utopians. Hope all is well in your world. So, we had a major blockbuster trade this evening between the Atlanta Hawks and the Washington Wizards. Per Shams, Corey Crisper and CJ McCollum, former president of the Players Union, being shipped out to Atlanta in return for the Trae Young. After many years of speculating, it finally came to fruition. And Trae Young, from my understanding, this was his preferential destination. Um, First off, this guy is the all-time leader in three-pointers made and assist. He's led the NBA, I think, 3 of the last 4 or 5 years. Decorated history. For even dating back to his time in college, he's got a amazing resume. Trailblazer took the Hawks all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. Never really had that second option guy between John Collins and now Jalen Johnson. Always had it to deal with his right hand being injured, someone always being injured. The every player needs a shotgun uh, buddy, and he just didn't have that kind of support. And he has definitely pound for pound gotten the most he could uh, out of his career, and he's hoping to continue to do so. And as one of the premier distributors in the NBA, going to a team like the Wizards with a great young nucleus, Alex Sarr, who's been one of the best rim protectors in the league, and obviously his mobility, athleticism um, is such a factor at this point. It's one of the best players to mask his deficiency on the defensive side of the rock. So honestly, that's a bonus. And then when you look at, they got Bilal Calabi, one of the best on-ball defenders. Uh, they got Bob Carrington, one of the more creative shot creators in the NBA in terms of up and coming young players. Um, Obviously, the emergence of Keon. I'm seeing his face kind of look like Shy Soldier Bob out of Miami. Keon Clark. I want to say not Keon Clark, but it's not Keontae George either. But I always mix up his name. He's like a 6'9" wing, 3 level scorer. Uh, he's drawn comparisons to Carmelo Anthony. Um, but anyhow, they have a lot of weapons. Cam Whitmore, for goodness sakes, is buried on the bench, which is my concern when he was traded from Phoenix. When he was, coming. I mean, when he was coming over from the Rockets. I know he's a hometown guy and all that, but my concern was if there was even availability for him uh, to play. And so, um, watching this guy, you know, uh, watching Trae Young get to Washington for hope, and hoping for new beginnings. There was only a handful of places in the league. Look, the fact of the matter is he's a high volume scorer in order to be effective offensively. Not one of the best spot up shooters, catch and shoot guys. He needs to be in rhythm, which kind of affects his opportunities on the I'm sorry, his opportunities in terms of landing destinations. So unfortunately, uh, fortunately, that window was closing for him. It was very scary. I mean, you just heard LeBron on his podcast, Mind of the Game, allude to score first guards being in a situation where there might not be a place for them. And, he kind of fits that description. The thing is, I understand, well, you can't say he's one of the top assist leaders and then say he's, a score first guard. But when you're playing meaningless basketball, you can manipulate stats to look a lot of different ways. But at the end of the day, he's a combo guard, and he who happens to get his assists, kind of like what happened with Westbrook in OKC after Kevin Durant left. Even when Kevin Durant was there, but like when Kevin Durant left, all of a sudden running up a bunch of triple double stats, right? But you would think with those kind of dominant numbers, he would have been in a post. He would have been in the finals. Regardless of how dominant the Warriors became, you would think like and he hasn't. He didn't go back to a finals ever again. And so, uh, you know, that is since Katie left. So from this perspective, this is as good as it gets in the league for him. I mean, there was only a couple teams, maybe the Magic. Uh, you could say the Bucks, but honestly, we already seen that type of archetype with Dame, how well it worked out. And it would only be worse because obviously the Bucks. I know they got Miles Turner and all that, but they need someone who can hold their own. They miss their Drew Holiday type player. Um, but him going to the Wizards, it's as good as it gets. Hopefully, he can help the maturation and development of this young team. They seem to have a lot of promise. Um, on the flip side, with the Hawks, this has been a long time coming. They definitely have a better flow, but I have a lot of apprehension about people who try to say, "Oh, they're better without him. They win more games." Yeah, you're going to win more games in the regular season, but when you get in the postseason and then possessions slow down and they become more concentrated, every possession is more and more crucial. Uh, Ultimately, at the end of the day, it gets to a point where, you know, you got to have a go-to guy, a Ja Morant, a LeBron, a Luca. You got to have guys who can go out and get it on their own against all odds, and that's what a Trae Young does and provide for you. They're just not in the phase of their uh, development process, in their building stage, where they're ready to turn that leaf into being concerned with winning a championship again. Ever since that run they had, where they made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. So when you look at the roster right now, them getting CRISPR, them getting CJ McCollum, sounds like they're not done. Apparently, they're in the sweepstakes to get Anthony Davis. Um, on face value, I don't really know what the Hawks can. I like CRISPR. I think he has a chance to do what Danny Avdia is kind of doing. He has that kind of style of play to me. Uh, who, mind you, tonight just dropped 40 against the Rockets. Kevin Durant had 37. But I think he has that kind of potential, but they're similar to the Wizards where they have a gluttony of roster talent, log jams at almost every spot. And so it's going to get tricky. Remember, they spent free agency money to get Nikhil Walker Alexander from what they freed up in the DeAndre Hunter for Terrence Mann trade, who's now with the Brooklyn Nets. I would like to see him end up somewhere like Denver, but Denver could use a lot of players. A lot of players could fit that squad's identity. But him and Braun, when he returns that crash unit, second unit would be awesome to watch, since he does play with no regard. But Landry Fields, who I told everyone I don't really understand why they're firing him. Now, come lo and behold, you know they're gonna have to move Trae anyways, right? And so uh, that I think he did a phenomenal job with what he had, especially when historically before this apron thing was implemented, teams who just spent the most money got further in the postseason, right? So for the general rule of thumb. But you know, they get CRISPR, a young prospect who I think people are sleeping on. I think he has a world of potential if given a designated set amount of minutes for himself to learn, and I mean to get acclimated, get comfortable, room for error, not obviously feeling the heat of I gotta, perform, 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 but he can go in there and kind of learn. That's gonna be tricky. They got a lot of people. Reese Shea needs minutes. Uh, and I don't know why people are calling him a bust. He's not a bust. He's been looking very good out there. Reminds me a little bit of Kevin Martin. I even think he could experiment at the one. They got Dyson Daniels, who has to be on the court. He's arguably he's been generational on the perimeter defense. Okay, Michael Jordan statistics in terms of perimeter defense and steals, Scottie Pippen type numbers, right? So I mean, he has to get on the court. Nikhil Walker, as I alluded to earlier, they're so loaded over there in Atlanta with guys who need opportunity. I don't know where even CJ McCollum's going. Maybe McCollum replaces the one at the one, so that's one player out of the way. But Reese Shea, Daniels, uh, and I know there's even players that I have because I'm not catching the. And don't forget, Jalen Johnson's been running a little point forward. He's got 8 triple doubles, franchise leader now. Uh, he's averaging 9 dimes. He pushed the great Mookie Blaylock's record out the way. Now Mookie's second in triple doubles in franchise history. So I mean, they got distributors already. They got ball handlers. They got scorers. It's gonna just boil down to opportunity. But if granted the proper opportunity, and then it is the NBA, guys get injured. But they got a little bit of everything already. My understanding, they're going to unload Porzingis if they can in his expiring deal to get Anthony Davis over there. Davis, McCollum, Nikhil Walker, Alexander. To me, it just sounds like a whole bunch of assorted talent, kind of like Minnesota. They'd be like the East Coast Minnesota, who eventually I think are moving toward the East Coast, but just assortment of 20-point scorers. Yes, they're professionals. Yes, they know how to play ball, but something about it get is just giving great video game team. I don't know if that's actually a formula to be a threat in the East. Maybe a great play-in team, but it's just lateral movement for the Hawks ultimately. They're going to have to clear out some of that debt, really get your prospects in designated spots, and live and die off that and be patient, by the way. I like Gouye. I like Jalen Johnson. I think they got a decent player in Guamier from USC. Okongwe from USC. These are I don't hold on, I might have said that wrong. For sure, Goye and Okongwu, I want to say, but I could be mixing that up with the Hornets guy. But they got one other guy over there also from international ball on that roster. Um, so they got prospects, but in terms of really saying, okay, we're ready to start actually focusing. But Quinn Snyder's a great coach. Quinn Snyder's a phenomenal coach. I remember him in Utah. He was the one of the rare ones that was actually calling plays. So I'm impressed. But um, I don't know if the Hawks are anywhere close. It's just a bunch of random pieces to me. I don't like that rebuild. I don't like whatever's going on. I didn't think they needed to run down the hill to pick up Nikhil Walker Alexander. Um, but if they have to spend money just to be above the minimum requirements on cap spending, fine, I guess. But I'm not. I didn't care for Porzingis acquisition. I don't think that was the place for him. Lo and behold, it's whatever. But every team could use a big man who could space the floor. It's just he's probably going to have to begin his Mo Buckets era. Ironically, he just for the second time in his career came off the bench. It was against the Nuggets when Jokic was still playing. But I just don't really care for the rebuild. I trusted and the process more with Landry Fields. I don't really care for what the Hawks are doing. I don't know what that is, what that's supposed to be, but it's whatever to me. At the end of the day, the trade is a great appetizer to hopefully some more real substantive trades pertaining to role players. I don't really care for these big Titan names because Wizards ain't making no noise this year in the playoffs, and the Hawks aren't either. But it's a nice appetizer. It's interesting. It presses the reset button on the viewership for me at least, because for me it's one of two things. You either got to be building you're building up talent for tomorrow, or you got to be a real threat. I don't do fake contenders, so they fall in that category of okay, we got more development, especially because Jordan Poole experiment was failing over there with the Wizards. So they had to get the ball out of his hands. He's an off-ball six-man Lou Will, Jamal Crawford. Now you got an actual real distributor over there. At least you get a step closer to getting a distributor. So guys like Bob Carrington, uh, guys like Cam Whitmore, Bullock Colby, um, you know, I keep messing up this guy from who's having a great year, but they can get closer toward getting easier looks for Sar because the guy got to eat, man. He's not physically on par to go out and get in the paint and bang out. So he needs somebody to kind of like initiate him. This is a step in the right direction. I like it for Will Dent. Been doing a great job over there. The Wizards, either way, they have something there. But the Hawks, on the other hand, I don't really care for this AARP roster that they're blowing. They just keep on stacking. Hopefully they can get it together. But these are just my quick thoughts and impressions on tonight's trade. Hope it was informative. I'll try to do better next time. Global out.